So putting my phone on Do Not Disturb.
Right. And we are live. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to International Women's Day. It is all about women, especially today, but it should be about women every day. So we are live on Facebook. We are live on Instagram. We are live on YouTube. And we are live in the room on Clubhouse. So thank you so much, ladies, for coming on with me and being a part of International Women's Day. What we're going to be talking about today, and this is the theme that the Committee for International Women's Day came up with. So this is not my theme. We're going to be talking about women in leadership and how COVID-19 has affected women in leadership. Welcome to Kathy Mead, M. Johnson Motivates, Big Mamas Hurl on Instagram. Thank you, ladies, for participating, as well as my friends on Clubhouse. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Ladies, I want you to go ahead and introduce yourself. We're going to start with you, Arlene. Tell us who you are, where you're from, what you do.
All right. Hi, my name is Arlene Santiago. I am from Chicago, Illinois, and I am a health transformation coach, best-selling author, and a mom of 3. I help women who are tired of yo-yo dieting lose 30 pounds, increase their energy, and all doing it without giving up their favorite foods in 6 months with my metabolism reset program.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Arlene, for being a part of this International Women's Day discussion. We're going to go to you, Lisa. Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
Hi, my name is Lisa Balthaser. I'm from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, and I am a digital marketing, social selling, and mindset coach. I help ambitious coaches and service-based business owners become powerful CEOs, make more money, make a bigger impact, and scale on social.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Lisa. And Sapphire, tell us who you are, where you are from, and what you do in your business.
Hi, everyone. I am Sapphire Charisma, and I help women, multicultural women, to make their passions and their purpose their paychecks. So I work a lot with branding, strategies, public relations, marketing, just pretty much anything to do with business development.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Risha, thank you for joining the party. Welcome to our International Women's Day discussion. Tell us who you are, where you are from, and what you do.
Thank you very much, Nishi, for this opportunity to be a part of your platform. Hello to all of you other ladies. Happy International Women's Day. It's our day, right? Although I feel like every day is our day, right? Just say. But it's nice to know that the world can pause and just, recognize us, for the values that we have contributed in society. So, as Misha mentioned, I am Risha Ferdinand. I am a business growth strategist, and I sell profit growth strategies to women in business because woman is my heart everywhere. I love serving women, and in anything that I can do to empower the woman, be sure you'll find me there.
And where are you from, Risha?
Yes, I am from the beautiful Twin Island, Trinidad and Tobago.
Welcome, Trinidad and Tobago. And I am your host, Michi Renee. I am located in Irving, Texas. I am a business and monetization coach. I actually help women to build and grow profitable online businesses, nonprofits, and ministries through coaching and consulting. Welcome to International Women's Day. And the topic of discussion this year that the committee put out is how has the COVID-19 pandemic affected women and leadership? That is what we are going to be talking about. And leadership doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a CEO of a Fortune 500, 100, 1,000 company. Leadership could be right in your own house. Leadership can be of your own self if you're single. So it's just leadership overall. So we're just going to have this discussion roundtable style. Everyone on the platforms, whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on Facebook, YouTube, please enable StreamYard so that we can see who you are and answer your questions. I have a couple of people on Facebook that I can't see who you are. You do have to enable StreamYard for us to see that. We have someone that's from the Philippines. Welcome, Philippines. Yay. Someone says, thank you for doing this. Yes, drop a hashtag. Let me know if you are watching us live or if you are watching the replay. For my Clubhouse family, welcome to the live stream. Ping anyone into the conversation that you feel may benefit from this. So we're just going to go ahead and start. And Arlene, go ahead and start. How has the COVID-19 affected your leadership and what you are doing both in your life and your business?
When it first started, I was seeing a lot of people one-on-one in person, right? So I had to take a pivot because we couldn't see anybody. And so I feel like that it put me in a more of a leadership role because I had to take the reins here and do a lot of things virtually. And I was being my own leader, right? For my own business. I'm always a leader for my business, but I mean, even more so. So I had to step in there and just take over and do what needed to be done and still continue to do what needed to be done. And as far as I was saying I was seeing people in person, but taking the online way, the different way, and just keep on keeping on and just doing your best to make it a success and just, grow the business in that regard instead of seeing someone in person.
Yeah, I definitely know that a lot of people had to make pivots, especially people in health and fitness, in beauty industries, in, makeup artists, all these traditional fields where you see people in person. People were having to make major pivots and shifts in order for their business to continue moving forward and think outside the box. So I'm just curious to know, anybody feel free to jump in. How did you have to think outside the box to make pivots in your business? Because I know it was crucial.
Well, I know for me, it was very eye-opening. Because the industry that I'm in was one of the ones that's still currently impacted by COVID, as far as the travel industry. So, just having the world come to a halt and having to come up with innovative ways to still empower people through travel without them physically traveling. So it was definitely a learning experience and a curve that we had to kind of navigate on the fly.
And so what did you have to do for that? How were you able to serve?
For me, it kind of allowed me to have my brand, my strategy revamped. And I had to do a whole big refocusing of the way that we did or sold experiences. So just trying to have, focusing more on creating guides and doing virtual tours. So, having people more become the armchair traveler rather than, rather than physically getting on a plane or going to these different destinations, because a lot of people were very scared. I mean, it was especially in the beginning, it was very surreal and very scary because it was something that many of us, this was the first time we were experiencing this. And, still trying to keep people empowered and trying to keep them focused on travel, but just introducing them to a different way of still experiencing travel. So encouraging them to, hey, guess what? You can't go international, but how about you go and explore the hidden gems that are right in your local backyard, right? Definitely taking I guess including more restaurants because you have foodies and just having different ways to explore traveling right from your couch, pretty much.
Right. Absolutely. Lisa, Arlene?
Yeah. Well, I was just thinking when she was talking, the experience, it didn't really change my business so much because most of what I did was online anyway. And the only pivot I really had was pivoting my meetings to online, which was really no big deal at all. However, it did allow me to step into more of a leadership capacity because of people in the travel industry, in the restaurant industry. It allowed me to step up and help them to think of ideas for their business. So it really was an opportunity for me. Now, a lot of them, I met in networking groups that I'm in and in masterminds. And, honestly, I felt grateful that it didn't really change my life that much, but I also felt grateful for the people that I was able to help because they were desperate. And, just like you were saying, Sapphire, the travel industry was hit hard. And I can't tell you how many people in the travel industry I helped to figure out how to do things online because it was so different for them.
Right.
So I appreciate that part of the conversation because that was a tough industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Risha, how about you? I know that you're the only one who's outside of the US currently. So how did COVID affect you and your country, Trinidad and Tobago?
Okay, great. It has been a slow impact. Now, some persons may disagree, but it's all dependent on where you are positioned. The impact, it's one impact, but it's how you adjust to the impact. That's what made the difference. And for me, I always had my consultancy business, but I also had the accounting side of it, which is limited to my country only versus the consultancy is global.
Mhm.
So my accounting clients, however, I lost them because if there's no business going on, what accountant do you need, right?
Right.
So I have some who literally our contracts ended, whilst there was some who we moved from monthly to quarterly. I remain with one client from out of 15 clients. I have one.
Oh, wow.
Um, so yes, it did have a impact. I must admit it was a financial impact. However, whilst that happened globally, it worked in my favor because there was a huge market that opened up, a really huge market. And if you are not an opportunist, you would have missed it.
Right.
So you needed to see that there is a market that opened and gravitate to it because there were people who were willing to pay to get help.
Yeah.
So there was a demand, and it was up to us as the leaders in our field to be quick thinkers and grab that opportunity. Obviously, it would not have been as smooth for some people. Like how it would have been like for Sapphire, it wouldn't have been that smooth for her. It would have taken some time of grooming and testing and trying to basically come up with a right product.
Right.
For persons, particularly in my field, consultants, strategists, coaches, that was the opportunity there for us to shine. Because before, persons didn't see the importance of having us.
Right.
Persons wasn't willing to invest because in their minds business is going well, business is going nice. But because now they realize, hey, I need an extra pair of hands, I need someone to help me think, that is where the demand came in.
Yeah.
And even for those who now started business during COVID, they themselves, some of them came from corporate and have no idea how to marry corporate experiences to run a business.
Yes.
So that is where we came in and were able to marry that together to help their businesses position to serve not just people in their own country, but globally as well.
Right. I totally agree. Definitely And we're still seeing some of that. You know, I know the company
Mhm.
that I left right as COVID was happening. I knew I wasn't going back or whatever. They've done another layoff, and it's going to continue because the businesses and companies are going down. So more and more people are coming into the online space. More and more companies are even considering online businesses more so than they have in the past,
Mhm.
because it's viable. You don't have any overhead. You don't have any expenses
Mhm.
associated to running an online business the same way you would, you know, a corporation in, you know, paying thousands of dollars a month for buildings, electricity, all these, you know, services and things that can be eliminated by moving your workforce to an online format. I just see that this is going to be even more of a trend.
I
We
agree.
major retailers here in the US closing. Um, I know Macy's is switching their whole brand to where it's going to be nothing but online. So you won't be able to go into any stores anymore for that. There's talks with between them and Amazon taking over and purchasing all of the Macy's locations. So that would be interesting to see how all that formulates. So what are you guys, some of your thoughts and opinions on where you see the online space currently and where you see it going over the next year to 2 years?
Um, for me, I would have to say that just like Lisa, being online was something that I kind of embraced early in my brand. And there's a few discussions that I've had with certain agencies that I partnered with, trying to sell them on the fact that, like, for example, if you are an events management company and you host physical events, I kept saying there's going to come a time when you're going to need to have a virtual chapter, because not only is it opening up a whole nother playing field, but you're going to have people join your organization that you would have never touched being physical, because now it's global, right? So now you have people in Italy, you have people in China, and just all around the globe in your space that you have opened up like a virtual hub for. And another thing too that I kept saying, but nobody listens, is I kept saying it like, listen, we need to start embracing the virtual reality tours. And now you have a whole bunch of real estates, you have hotels as well. Now you can do a virtual tour of the facility. So I'm noticing that it's starting to pivot. I'm sad of the circumstances that pushed it, but I'm actually happy that the world is shifting in that way. It's
Yeah.
kind of like growing up and watching the Jetsons, right? And
Yeah.
now I feel like, oh my goodness, are we going to start having cars in the air now? And and I can see the world embracing technology more. And I'm all for it.
I totally agree. I totally agree. And I mean, especially, well, in the health and fitness space,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, people are just used to it now. They're used to going to YouTube or doing other things just online and finding things online that are working for them.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm finding, just from my perspective here, that I mean, people are still going to the gym and they do like that one-on-one connection, but they're still not ready to go. A lot of people
Right.
are just not ready to go, and people are scared. But the thing is, they got so used to this
Mm-hmm.
online thing this past year. They're just like, oh well, I'm just going to keep on doing that. I mean, I have been in my classes. They just like, you can never quit this. You can never quit this virtual thing because this is great.
They're embracing it. So at the
Yeah.
beginning, I know for you personally, because I know you personally, they were shunning the fact that they had to do fitness online. Now they're telling you don't stop the fitness
Right.
online.
Right. And what's
Right.
funny is, like, in the beginning, so I do two different demographics. So I have like the older adults and I have the busy moms, right? And for the older adults, that was such a big transition for them. They're like, no, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to wait. I'm going to wait till in person. And I'm like, okay, but you know what? I can walk you through this.
Mhm.
So, I mean, it's just part of the course, but getting on the phone 101. Okay, this is step 1. This is what you need to do.
Yeah.
Step 2, are you there yet? And then by the time, they have to do it a couple times. Of course, it takes a little while, learning curve. But, once they're there, they're like, oh, this is great.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think it's great that people have really embraced that, and they've found it did get a lot of the older generations to actually embrace technology, and I think that's actually a good thing. With what you were saying, I know for me, with the virtual classes, at one point they stopped them here because they opened back up, and I was freaking out because I wasn't going back yet, and I was like, I want my online classes, people.
Yeah.
Uh,
I know here last week, our governor opened up the state of Texas to 100% capacity with no masks, which is crazy. So it's going to be interesting to see what shifts and what happens with that as it relates to that decision being made. If they are going to, as Lisa stated, start now cutting off the online classes and trying to go back to the way it was before. I know myself, I'm not going to the gym.
right.
I'm just not going to do it. Like, we all know how that works. You go to the gym, you don't know who's been on the machine.
Mhm.
I can't be walking around with Clorox wipes and buckets and all that stuff. Cleaning off machines,
And,
all that.
Exactly.
the mask.
Yeah.
You're trying to breathe.
Right.
This mask. Take it down. You're like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Exactly,
I'm
Arlene,
because of that.
I do Zumba, and I work out hard when I work out.
Yeah.
And there is just no way that I want to be in there trying to breathe in a mask doing Zumba when I can barely breathe without a mask doing
Right.
Zumba. I mean, come on here.
Yes.
I think gyms will always virtual, because I remember there was a time many years ago I purchased some equipment and it came with videos, CDs at that time, right?
Yeah.
And it's a Turbo guy, whatever his name was. And so once I'm on the bike, you slip in the DVD and you exercise. Even on YouTube, gym instructors have always been virtual. What I think happened is now persons who were committed to the gym are the ones who now transitioned online. But the gym instructors had a market since before COVID, which was excellent. And I keep telling clients, it's like if gym instructors were doing this years before COVID, then what is your excuse? So COVID is not the issue.
Mm-hmm.
COVID is not the issue. Our mindset is the issue to embrace technology, because gym instructors embraced it many, 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 many years ago. Because you can go to YouTube and you will see years of videos there. Even with persons, gurus, those different gurus on YouTube, their accounts, if you look at their accounts and their video postings, it's like 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
And it's their same videos that we now
right.
Yeah. And that is online learning right there.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But because the COVID, we want to use, we're kind of like, how should I say, programmed to think everything is all about COVID and etc. But there were a lot of things already in place prior.
Yeah.
Virtual learning was there already.
Right.
But there are some businesses that were fixed on brick and mortar.
Yes.
They were adamant that brick and mortar is it.
Yeah.
So I remember a client of mine when COVID just hit our country, and I told him, well, he had to move on. It's an institution, an education facility. And in the first 2 months, business went real well. No, they're profitable already, right? But when COVID hit, it's as though it just doubled their revenues for them. So I remember saying to the owner, I said to him, why not continue along this way? Get rid of, because at that time we thinking COVID was like a 3 months period and that's it, right? So it's like, why not get rid of all of these rental facilities because you don't own a facility you're renting?
Right.
Get rid of it and remain online. And I still have his WhatsApp message. And he said to me, no, it would the governing body who's responsible would not allow it. So they have to make it blended learning, etc. I said, okay, no problem. Here we are a year later.
Right.
Here we are a year later.
I know that point that you just made about the brick and mortar. My company that I was working for, they were dead set against people working from home. People aren't going to be productive. They're going to be wasting time. They're not going to do their jobs. We don't have a way to track it. Then COVID hit and everybody is working from home pretty much. Everybody is still working from home a year later. Not to mention that with Texas opening up, I don't know how that's going to affect them now. But I do know from some of my friends working in corporate that COVID has hit a lot of companies extremely hard. They've had multiple layoffs and people are experiencing doing the work of 2 to 3 people's jobs now.
Wow.
My old manager, I still keep in contact with her. She contacted me over the weekend and she said now she is the only one in the department. So she is doing the work. There was 2 of us at the time and we realistically needed about 2 additional people. So she's doing the work of 5 people now.
Wow.
Because they've done that many layoffs. And I know a lot of other companies have done layoffs as well. Has any of you with your personal friends and family, because I know most of us on here are entrepreneurs, how has it affected people working in corporate America connected with you guys? Do you have any?
I do. I when you were talking, I was thinking to myself, I've read some some statistics, and the statistics that I saw were like 60-some%. I can't remember the exact number of workers that transitioned to work from home do not want to go back to work 5 days a week at the office. Okay. Right. Can't blame them. For years, I was advocating working from home because there was really no reason for me to be in an office. Everything I did, I could do from home. It's the control thing that the corporations didn't want to lose, that control thing. But what I've also read is that companies were actually getting more out of their workers when they were working from home.
Yes.
So guess what? That was a surprise to them because they thought the opposite, but they realized that employees are much happier. Well, for me, I live in Philadelphia, so it's like an hour commute each way, no matter where you go in Philly during rush hour. And for me, it's that hour commute that made me miserable. So if I can cut that out, I am like 100% happier if I had to go back and work a job.
Right. Absolutely.
I see what you're saying. I think, Phil, I agree that you can get a ton more done when you're at home. And, you're using your time more efficiently that way, especially if you have like family, right? You're going to try to do as efficient as possible and do as much as possible in a certain period of time. But I also do believe that we still need the socialization to actually see people.
I agree.
So, it'd be nice to be like, hey, like, once a week, there's like everyone, certain people go to the office and, come together and, do their thing or have meetings and stuff like that in person, because you need to see other people.
Yeah.
Other than just.
Yes.
I will say that was the hardest part of, especially on the lockdown when COVID first happened, was being at home all day, every day, seeing no one. Because I'm in an area where I don't have any of my close friends or family that live where I live. And so literally I was locked down by myself.
Wow.
I know that took a toll on a lot of people's mental state, relationships, all of those things. Talk to me about your mental state during COVID. How did you keep it together when you're not seeing anyone, when you are by yourself, when it's just you and your four walls, as I call it? Talk to us about that.
I don't know if I could say about the four walls so much, because I had the kids in the background, right? And coming in a lot. So it's more like, okay, every time I sit down, I need to make it as efficient as possible. So to prepare for the stuff that's going to happen later on in the day.
Yeah. Anyone else on here single? Because I know, Risha, you have a husband and kids as well. Who I know Lisa is single. So
yeah.
I actually, when they first called for lockdowns, because it was such an unknown at that time. Like when they're talking about like locking it down, not go anywhere, I started freaking out a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because I live by myself, and I didn't want to get stuck in a major city in my house by myself without being able to go somewhere. And I didn't know what that meant at first. So I went to my parents' house like immediately. And I was like, I'm not going to get stuck here by myself. I at least want some people around. So yeah, I went there immediately. And it was actually, I'm really glad that I did, because I knew I had been through a whole lot before, and I knew mentally that if I was stuck in my home by myself, that would not go well because of some other things that I've gone through in my life. So I knew that I needed some kind of personal connection throughout this whole thing to keep me, not driving myself crazy. Yeah. I don't know how you guys feel, but
yeah, I feel the same way. For like the first 6 weeks. So I went to Trinidad for Carnival last year, went back home, and everything was just totally out of whack. And so when I came back, the VP of our department came to me. He said, CEO said you got to go home and quarantine for 14 days. I'm like, what? They didn't have any cases there. It was literally at the start of COVID. Right. Because I had been out of the country, they made me quarantine for 14 days, and 14 days is a year later. So when I first was on lockdown and quarantine, my mind was playing tricks on me for real. Mm-hmm. Like, I wasn't answering phone calls. It was like almost in a depressive state, because I was so used to going to church, going to my different women's groups and women's clubs, and having food adventures with my church friends here, and just doing the things that I enjoy doing. Then all of a sudden, boom, nothing. And that was, there was nowhere for me to go unless I was going all the way to Atlanta.
Right.
So I can totally relate to what you're saying. It did, however, force me to start building a better relationship with myself, getting comfortable being alone, getting comfortable with not doing anything. I think that was the biggest lesson of COVID. The rug being snatched from under you, for you to get quiet and relax and figure out what your next move is in whatever was going on for you at that time. It was a way for us to take the focus off of ourselves and put that focus back onto God, the creator, the spirit of the living God within, whatever you refer to that as. That's God to me. To take the focus off of everything else and shift the focus back to that. I would love it for you guys to tell me your thoughts and your feelings. Also, anybody in my Clubhouse room, if you want to say anything, hit the hand button and I will bring you on stage and you can speak and tell us your thoughts and your opinions on everything that we have been talking about today.
I agree as far as like slowing down. You when you slow, I mean, you have nowhere to go. You have to stay home. Well, most of the time, right? And you know, life gets so busy, 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 busy. Got to do this, got to do that, and then you know, you have to slow down. And I mean, from my perspective, hey, you know, you're paying attention to those children a lot more than you were, and appreciating that, you know, time with them, and you know, seeing the differences even more so than it was like the week prior, and embracing that, because I mean, it's real. There's so many memories of what happened this past year with family, with all together, you know. It's great.
I think for me, the hardest part of the whole process, because I consider myself, as well as Myers-Briggs, I am a introverted extrovert, right? So
Me too.
me personally, I loved it. I didn't have a problem with the isolation and the staying home, because I already came to that where you was introduced to it, Mishi. I already was comfortable in my skin and with who I was. The problem was for me, what my oldest daughter called my broke best friends, was the two kids that were in the house with me, right? Staying and actually working remote, as well as Aiden on his distance learning, was an extreme sport.
Ooh, yes.
So it's like you're sitting there and you're on Zoom, and Zoom fatigue is a real thing, by the way.
Oh yeah.
I've never seen Zoom again. It's too soon. So it's like going from physical, we've never had that much meetings. I mean, some of these meetings could have been emails, seriously, right? And you're trying to work, and here's a 10-year-old literally cutting class right in front of you, like walking around.
It's real.
Cutting class on Zoom.
Yes. Make it make sense, right? That was the hardest part. And then it came to a point where in the summertime, right? Because kids are used to having that summer break. There was no break. There wasn't really that much of a break, because to him, he's 10, he can't understand, well, why can't I go play with my friends? Why can't we do this? Why are we not going to Disney World and all the things that we usually do in the summertime? So my focus is on his mental health, because his mental health started to work my last nerve and started how it work. So
yes,
just trying to keep them.
My kids are in college, so my youngest two, this is their freshman year in college. But I have my sisters, my nieces and nephews. I can't imagine having to teach my kids. That I can't imagine. That in itself would give somebody mental health. Give somebody mental health issues. So how have you guys been navigating? Let's just talk about that. How have you been navigating the whole teach your kids from home situation?
A lot of wine.
Amen to that.
A lot of wine.
No, yeah, for sure. A lot of wine. It is difficult. You need to calm your nerves.
And then when I'm
frustrated, when you do that teaching and stuff, it's a lot.
Hop on the Peloton bike and take out the frustration on that. So wine, Peloton, not necessarily in that order.
Right. How about you, Risha?
For me, it was different though. My story a little different because my kids were homeschooled before COVID.
Okay, gotcha.
But my daughter, she's a teenager. She was the one that was most impacted because she didn't have, she would have still had to engage her friends and her cousins, and that literally cut off. So I knew she was the one that is most impacted. So what I did is I found different dishes for us to cook. So we were just cooking, my daughter and I, 1 a.m., 2 a.m. We're there cooking, eating, cooking, eating, cooking, eating. And it was like a hobby for us. It's like, what are we cooking today? What are we cooking tomorrow? It was like a big thing. And I made it. I did it on purpose just to keep her, because I'm an adult. I have been through life. Yeah. But her, on the other hand, is to keep her happy. And even movies, I went back to those old school movies that we knew. We grew up with, like Sister, and Tom and Jerry, all of these old school stuff. It's actually on my TV, and that's what we've been looking at. I introduced her to all of these old school things like Family Matters and you name it, Cosby Show, Fresh Prince. So she's there, she's just watching these things, and it was just different, and was able to bring back things that even I miss, even though we were homeschooling. I missed these things. I didn't have the time to somehow build relationship. And so even though my life wasn't major impacted because, like I say, I work from home and my kids are homeschooled already, but I use that season to build relationship with my family, and it worked well. Yes, there are times you want to go outside and so forth, but for me, nonetheless, I just rather sit down home with my laptop. But for the kids, it looked different for them. Also remember when COVID immediately hit, there was a lot of free workshops all over, all over the world. And I remember that first month, I could get my diary. In one day, I had like about 4, 5, 6 workshops right after each other. And there am I taking notes, learning, just taking all the free information till there was a point where I felt like there was a brain overload. Because I'm just grabbing information, whether it was good information or bad information. I was just there, showing up with all different registering, webinar, this,
Right.
Yeah.
The first month, it was like a lot of me just grabbing information because I would have lost clients at that time, so I had free time. So it's like, make myself productive. I learned how to build chatbots during that period. And I started to sell it at that period. And I never knew chatbot before, messenger chatbots. So I learned that during the period, and I sold it during the period. So I made even additional money outside of my coaching.
Right.
I made additional money. So there were, like I say, it looked different to all of us, but there were opportunities. It's just how we embraced it. It was the thing. Because there were some persons who couldn't go past being, how should I say, being in a confined space and just though they couldn't think. And I respect that everybody goes through things differently. But for me, my leadership just rose up, inside of me, and it's like, hey, you need to think. So I was like literally thinking quickly, okay, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Even with the food, like you're gonna cook this, you're gonna cook that. And to make it fun and make it exciting. So it kept me like a busybody.
Right.
And so I didn't really get to deal with me, even though coming to think about it, I'm sticking with you all because I was just so focused on doing everything else, and keeping everything together. But it's as though I masked me. So because I have now become this online face, it's like, so what's me? Me, Risha. But I don't know, I guess it's probably part of my development. Who knows?
Right. So Arlene, are your kids in elementary school? I know your kids are pretty young. Do you have kids that are in school?
Yeah, they're all in school. They're in person right now. It's great. It's great. I get more time. There's like my anxiety doesn't rise up, and it's a good thing. I'm glad they're there. They belong. In my opinion, they belong in school. So they can learn. They learn better that way, right? Yeah. And I'm not watching them like Sapphire. Hey, you're not cutting school, are you?
Right. It's like, what?
That is too funny. Like that was pretty funny. Like cutting school, like on Zoom. That is funny. I know, because my kids are a little bit older. I will say that one of the main things for my sons, they graduated in 2020, so they had no prom, they had no senior trip, they had no senior activities. We barely got we barely got to have a ceremony. Their school actually did, after much pressure from the graduating, from the parents, because originally it was going to just be them and we were only going to be able to watch it streaming. So I'm very grateful that I actually got to see my sons walk across the stage.
Oh, amen.
Some people did not get to experience their children graduating in 2021. So it kind of altered everyone's experience. And I don't think people took into consideration how it affected those students graduating from college, those students graduating from high school and not being able to take part in any of those things. It was pretty sad for me as a mom. I wanted to see my sons get dressed up, take the girls to the prom.
Yes.
Their school only had a senior prom. So they didn't have the opportunity as a junior to go to the prom. So my sons have never been to the prom. They never got to experience that. And even their freshman year of college has been altered because a lot of their classes were online and some were in person. So they're not even getting to experience the dumb stuff that you do while you're in, while you're in college, going to the parties, you know, even just their school. A lot of the things were closed, gyms and, you know, all the stuff on campus. So it kind of affected everybody at some level and at some point. I don't know anyone that it didn't affect. Even older people, them being able to just go out to places because they were in a higher risk category. So I know personally for me, for my own mom, she's been pretty much housebound for almost a year. Just because of not wanting to be in that risk category when you have underlying medical conditions. So how did some of those things affect you guys and your family and the people around you?
So my mom definitely has been housebound because she only has one spleen, or she doesn't have a spleen. Something came out that she needs for her immune system and she doesn't have it. And my grandmother, which is my mom's mom, she is in a nursing home. So that was something that was hard because we went from going to see her every week on a Sunday to months upon months we didn't get to see her. So the agency was able to implement, they had to purchase an iPhone for the agency so that we can FaceTime and phone. So you had to schedule when it was your time, and everyone only got a half an hour to talk because, you know, it's a lot of different families that also need to see their loved ones. But outside of that, me personally, I guess I took the precautions that was recommended. You know, we wore masks. Unfortunately, my son was one of because we learned that there are certain blood types that reacted differently to COVID, where it was more fatal than not. And Aiden, being in the B's of his blood type, was one of the ones. So when it started because when it first came out, it was, oh no, it doesn't affect kids, right? And then children started dying. So it was more or less me having to go out to get food for the kids to bring it back home. I had to be mindful of what it was I was interacting with when I went out there to come back home to risk possibly bringing it home. So one of the things that I learned very quickly when I was working years and years ago at the hospital or in any medical field, and I would wear my scrubs, I had a policy where as soon as I walked in my front door, before the kids are running and want to hug mommy, I would make it a habit of removing the scrubs, and I would have a bag there and, you know, wash my hands and before engaging with my family, before embracing and showing that love, because believe it or not, hospitals are where most people actually go to catch the worst things, and you would think it's the opposite. So just having certain things that should have been protocol from before, because I was confused how people was out here not washing their hands. I was like, why was that hard for a lot of people to do? Or you know, even dealing with like the whole toilet paper thing, right? That was frustrating. I'm just like, I'm sorry for that, and I haven't forgiven a lot of people for that. Still, God is working on me. But the toilet paper thing, like just certain things that we saw that was happening, it I don't know. It just made, that's more or less what I was processing. It comes down to, well, I can't depend on someone to have me in mind. So I have to look out for me, right? So wearing a mask and washing my hands. I got hand sanitizers all over the place, you know. So just little things like that, because a lot of us have people at home that are the higher risk, you know, and you don't want to infect them, or, you know.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We have a comment. It says, yes, I am a person who loves travel. So this has been really difficult, but I do know there are others who are suffering a lot more than myself.
Mm-hmm.
I lost one of my childhood friends and I couldn't attend the funeral. Wow. Yeah.
That's sad.
Yeah. I know several people. That was for me as well. When my best friends passed away and I was not able to attend the funeral. She didn't, it wasn't from COVID. But yeah, I wasn't able to attend. I still feel guilty about that. I would have liked to have been there, but just that comment just brought up another aspect of people weren't able to have closure with loved ones, weren't able to participate and be there when things happen. Did deaths or anything affect any of you guys? I know personally it didn't affect my immediate family, but definitely on the outlier. Yes.
Yeah, I had a friend that also passed during this. She had cancer, but it was a shock to me because I actually didn't know she went really fast. So when she passed and I saw that she passed, they were having I don't know if it wasn't actually an actual viewing. It was, I don't know what they had, but I did go to support the family, even though I didn't know her family at all. I drove to New Jersey, and I went there, and it was, to me, when I left there, I'm going to be honest with you, when I left there, I felt, number one, guilty because I didn't know she was sick and I didn't get a chance to see her because I would have been there for her more. And number two, I felt really sad for the family because it was not an open casket. Like there was hardly anybody there. I mean, I was there by myself pretty much. I'm like tearing up thinking about it because I just thought it was a really sad experience because it wasn't a normal experience that you would expect. And I know for my parents, you know, I'm staying with my parents and I always have to worry about, you know, like going places because of them, because they are in a high risk category. They're older. So, but they personally had a lot of friends pass since I've been at their house. And they actually have gone to a lot of the viewings, socially distanced, mask required. Most of them are with a specific funeral home that we know does a good job. But just the fact that you're seeing, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like because we're sitting online more, I feel like we're seeing more people passing. And I don't know if that's just a perception because we're online more, but it just, I don't know, it just makes me sad the way things are with that.
Yeah.
During that time, there were a couple of deaths also, friends. Even recently, I had someone that passed away as well, another friend, and I wasn't able to go to the funerals, even wedding. My sister-in-law got married during last year, and I told my husband, "Well, that's your sister. You go and represent us. I will stay home with the kids." And so there were a lot of events,
Yeah.
landmark events that we couldn't be a part of. And yes, it was disheartening because, you want to go, you want to be there. Um, my friends' funerals, I wanted to be there. But, you just sit behind the laptop and cry. It is what it is, right? I think that is the downside with it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I do know that virtual events opened up because I mean
Yeah.
my sister had a virtual birthday party. We had a DJ and everything. I mean,
I
That's
gave my
awesome.
daughter a virtual baby shower.
yeah, we were gonna do my sons, we were gonna have a virtual graduation party, but we didn't end up doing it. We were gonna do the whole commencement ceremony and everything.
I know that's right. Have them walk.
Yes. Yes. So it did open up opportunities for business and
Mhm, absolutely.
opportunities for new ways to connect. Because I do know that my sisters and I and a couple of our other friends, we started to do virtual meetups and hangouts
Yes.
so that we could connect with each other. So it did open up a few things online. So what is the most unusual business that you've heard of being online?
I want to go. I heard about dog grooming online.
What?
What?
A dog grooming coach. I know.
Oh
That was
wow. A dog
exciting.
grooming coach?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, that was exciting. And people were paying because they are avid dog lovers. And yeah, they want their dog to be trained. So and there's this person
Oh my
online
God.
training them. And I remember was being a part of a webinar, and they were actually showing us that, and it's like, what is your excuse? If that person could actually make a business out of this, what is your excuse? It's like
Wow.
you're overcomplicating it. Okay? And it's what?
Wow.
People share their testimonies showing how their dogs were to how it is now.
How it started and how it is. Like what?
A dog grooming
that
business.
is
Wow.
wow.
Who would have ever thought?
Oh my God, that's a good one.
So the most unusual thing I heard, and I actually interviewed this lady on my podcast, but she is actually a virtual makeup artist. And I'm like, wait, what? So basically, what she does, you get on Zoom with her. She does a recording, like you zoom in really close to your face. She assesses your skin and all of that. Send her pictures of different angles and all of that. She then mails you the makeup, the samples of the makeup. She then mails it to you. And then when you get it in the mail, she teaches you how to apply it.
Wow.
Right.
See, you just got to be creative.
Yes.
That's all it takes.
Yes. So she actually does virtual makeup artistry, virtual esthetician type stuff where she's assessing your skin and everything virtually. And then she sends you what you need in the mail, what your regimen is going to be, all that kind of stuff. She sends you the products and things by mail and then follows up with a consultation afterwards.
Yeah, my esthetician does that, and my mother-in-law does the consultations virtually. So yeah, so that happens, and yeah, it's really like every 6 weeks. Okay, what's next? Let's do this again. You know?
Yeah. So we have on another level, as a grandparent of school-aged children and some with special needs, virtual learning is just not working for most single and working women. Yeah, I can only imagine trying to do Zoom with special needs kids. How in the world does that even work out? Like,
I think that would have had to. We need to be honest with ourselves and know what is working and what is not working.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So because our children are enrolled in education facilities, they have their mandate to do, which is deliver the curriculum.
Yeah.
But you, as the parent, needs to know how your child learns.
Right.
And if you realize this is not it, then scrap it. Find what works for you. So, like my son, I remember just before COVID, because I used to visit my clients a lot, I used to have my kids in the vehicle waiting for me, whilst I'm there having my lunch meetings. And I remember he started to become, he was 3 or 2 going on 3 at that time or whatever. And he was becoming a bit for my daughter, right? Because she's a teenager and I can't expect her to take care of my son all the time. It's my responsibility.
Right.
And I remember just before COVID hit, because COVID hit like in March, like in January, we decided we would send them to a preschool so I could go to my meetings and my daughter could accompany me because she wants to be my assistant, right? So she could accompany me, learn while he is there. And when COVID hit, they had online classes.
Right.
So I was like, how am I going to get him to sit? He wasn't going to sit and watch it, but he would sit there for like 15 minutes just looking at the children and calling out their names. Did he learn anything? I don't even think so. But he was just there learning and looking at the children and saying hi and hi and hi and just talking, whatever. But the responsibility was me. So I just used that opportunity to keep him away, busy for like a 15 minutes so I could do something. But after that, the real learning came from me because I knew how he learned. So I, would have got his book or whatever, and I'd have done work with him, and we'd have done craft, etc., etc. So I'm saying this is to say, even though the global education system is now virtual, the responsibility is still us as parents to find what works for our children and what works for our home.
Right.
So if it means scrapping online, then scrap it.
Right.
Scrap it. Let the child show you how they learn. And that is what will make it easier for the child. Because children shows you how they learn.
Absolutely.
Some learn math with just writing on a board. Some learn math by doing it by themselves, reading the textbook and learning by themselves. Then there are others need a role play. So if you have to teach them numbers, you probably use the apples and the grapes and you put on music. Some children even learn with music. So you're playing music and you're dancing and you're learning. My daughter, to teach her the timetables, we used to play with basketball. So find how the child learns. Because what makes it frustrating is we are following what the standard is, but how to deliver the syllabus, and that standard is not applicable to each child.
Absolutely.
And this is way before COVID. This has been happening in schools way before, because you would find in schools where you have teachers say, this child is a slow learner or this child is brighter. And it's because you're a teacher standing there in front of 40 students, 30 students. You cannot get 40 or 30 of them to think and learn the same way.
Right.
So the ones who learn differently, we say they are slower. But the truth is you are not qualified to tap into what their skill is. And I can't fault you as a teacher because that is how you were trained. So, but the responsibility comes back to the parents and the guardian to know the child, pay attention to the child's learning ability and capitalize on it so that way learning will be fun and not stressful. Not stressful.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Most people don't have teaching skills. Like I couldn't imagine me having to teach my sons elementary school. Man, listen, we all would be having some problems right about now because they wouldn't learn anything because I don't have patience for that. So I sympathize with the people right now who have for the last year, their kids have been homeschooled when they aren't qualified to homeschool their kids. And I can totally see how parents are frustrated, want to change, want some help. Yeah, it's been a problem all the way around, especially for people who have to make choices between homeschooling, going to work, providing for their family. They're under impossible circumstances. And that's one of the downsides of COVID.
Yes.
We
For me,
Go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
For me, what I learned in my situation where Aiden went from being a student in person to having discussions with the teachers, constant emails from the teachers. Aiden, and of course he's not the only one, but the kids found ways to, with Zoom, he changed his name to reconnecting ... So she thinks he's connecting and he'll turn off his camera. He
my gosh.
he has to take a picture and he will do it on a black screen and it's now a virtual background. And the teacher is just like, and how he got caught with the reconnecting, he didn't spell reconnecting right? And it's the English teacher. So it's just like little dumb things like that.
Oh my gosh.
And so she's just like, why is he flickering in and out? Because the boy done turned the virtual background on and it's a picture of his face on a black box in the background. So, and to me, this is showing me that I'm not even I'm gonna be very transparent. I was very scared. I'm like, you are gonna be a hacker someday or something. Like, what's going on? I'm scared. Help me help you, right? Because that's the things that they come up with. Because to me, he's not being challenged, and then he doesn't have that constant authority that's watching. So now my daughter, who's 25, has to sit there and be a warden. While he's on the camera, so he's not reconnecting ... right?
Yeah.
Do your work. So I get it. I understand it. I learned a lot about my son this past year, and it made me realize that I gotta step my Christmas game up because these teachers is really going through it with this boy, and a mug that just says Teacher of the Year just don't cut it no more. Because I couldn't imagine being in a classroom full of Aidens, 30, 40 of Aidens. No. So I agree. We have to figure out what works, what doesn't, especially for our sanity. Pray for us. We are not okay out here. We're not. It's important. It's a key. My daughter works for children with developmental disabilities, and she said how they pivoted was they would do trainings with the parents because the kids are now homeschooled with the kids. So they trained the parents on how to properly educate and train and be that parent for the kids during COVID.
I remember even, just to reiterate our points, there is a client of mine, she needed assistance with setting up her Facebook ads properly. So I remember, over the phone and we're there speaking, I'm walking her through it, but she couldn't get it for whatever reason. So I decided, here, let us have an online class. I'll share my screen with you, and whilst you have your screen up, I will do it together. And she got it. And then she said to me, at the end of it, I think it was the next day, she sent me a long message to say, in school, she was always considered the slow child. But as she grew older into adulthood in her late 30s, that is when she discovered she's a visual learner.
Yes.
Because she was made to believe all these years, 30-something years, that she's a slow learner. This aha moment came in very recent times that she's a visual learner. So she now feels empowered to start to do things because she felt as though she could not have done anything because she's a slow learner. She was labeled as that, and she believed she was. But the truth is, it's because the education provider, that teacher and the parents didn't have the knowledge to identify her unique learning ability.
Right. Right. Yeah.
I'm not a lecturer, I'm not a teacher by nature, but having my kids, I realized that this is how they learn. So you do what is necessary to ensure that they excel. And once you do that, you are in a less stressful situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally relate to that. This has been a great conversation. So we're going to start wrapping it up. So I want to know from you guys, what was your biggest win and your greatest loss? And I'll go ahead and start it. So my biggest win was pivoting full-time into entrepreneurship, to putting God first and allowing him to be the leader of my business, of my life. Not a new Christian, but just a new focus, allowing God to be my source and my provider.
Amen.
And I guess my greatest loss was stepping away from corporate America after 20 plus years of working for someone else. So, which is also a blessing. So, but those are my biggest takeaways from COVID-19.
Wow, that's a hard one for me. My biggest win is kind of the opposite of what you just said in a way. Definitely restructuring and focusing on my entrepreneurship, and putting in and implementing different strategies and crisis communication and all that stuff, right? But I recently left corporate America to pursue my purpose or my alignment. So it was kind of like the opposite, because I wasn't happy. I didn't feel like my worth was being utilized. I was reporting to someone that had no idea what it was that I did, how I did it, but want to tell me how to do what needs to be done. I dealt with microaggression. It was just a lot that it started to literally physically manifest in my health. So I kept working for the insurance to pay for the health, when what was paying for the health was the reason I was sick in the first place. You know what I mean? So leaving that, just to quickly sum it up, that at 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, I let go and I left. 5:15 p.m. that same day, I was offered an opportunity, which I took control of, because how the whole thing even happened, I knew it was coming out to that time. Because when I start to feel like I feel sick when I'm waking up, I don't want to be here, I don't want to constantly have to, and then the micromanagement and all the other stuff that was just frustrating, that I already knew that my time was coming, right? So quickly on a Saturday, I asked my daughters, would you pay somebody $65 to do your resume? And they're like, oh, no, mommy, no, you could do that. Like, yes, I can, but I don't want to. And I know the young lady who I was going to commission to do the resume. So, okay, get to Sunday now. I'm coming back home and I sit on my bed and there's a fortune cookie. Now, no, I don't do fortunes and all that other stuff, but I strongly do believe that God has a way of meeting us where we're at. So I open the cookie, I eat the cookie, I read it. It says, you are about to change your line of work. And I'm like, well, what does that mean, right? Within 20 minutes, I got an email from Indeed. I'm like, this got to be one of those people that, they want, the job is like a commission job, or so I didn't really pay no mind. Monday, they emailed me again. Ignored it again. Tuesday, they called me. I sat on the phone with this woman for 2 hours. 2 hours. After that, it was like a series of other interviews, as far as like being on the phone with her and talking to her. And she's literally courting me for the position. So at 5:15 that same day, when I let go, I didn't anticipate to step into something even greater than what I imagined. So it started out as a management position, and the more we talked, now today officially is my first day as executive director of operations, running all of her businesses as far as Cambridge, Owen Mills. We are about to open a facility in Hawaii. It's St. Louis. It's like it's going all around, and she wants to also go into the Caribbean, right? So I say that to say that sometimes you find yourself in these positions, but when it's starting to manifest where it's making you physically ill, I strongly believe it's not in alignment, right? It's not in alignment. I've never had a job where at the end of my interview, they say, well, can we pray? And we prayed. We prayed till the husband of my new boss started to tell me what he was hearing, thus saith the Lord, gave me a scripture and everything. They never told me this is a new job. They put it as this is an opportunity, right? And then the pivot in my own business as well, where it kind of merges. My greatest loss is the fact that traveling for me was that was my release. That was my therapy. Going into different cultures, going to different places. When I travel, I taste a location by eating the local food. I engage with the locals. I build relationships that I truly believe are these moments, these experiences that you will never have if you just stay confined inside the comfort zone, right? So it's just, for me, that was my greatest loss. I miss traveling so much. Did get vaccinated and waiting to see where this is going. Keeping updated with a lot of the news that is in the industry of travel, where, you know, they're discussing passports, these little medical passports, stuff like that. So it's slowly but surely coming, but everything is falling into alignment, and it's about letting go and just having that belief, right? Let go and let God.
Absolutely.
That's what it is.
That's amazing. Who else? Anyone else have anything else they want to share?
Yeah. So for me, I want to go on the negatives first. For me, my loss of gym time was also my social outlet because we'd go to lunch. So we'd go to the gym and then we would go to lunch. So I worked out so I could eat. So, you know, so I really, truly, honestly miss doing that. I miss my friends. I miss the conversation. I miss the camaraderie of working out in my classes. So for me, that was kind of the downside of it all, the social aspects, because I am a very fairly social person. But for me, I will say most of it has been positive. I wrote up a business plan 3 years ago. It was like 2.5 years when COVID first hit. Was how my business plan was. And because I was working a part-time job, I never had the time to implement my plan. So this was an opportunity. Like, I jumped on it the second we were in lockdown. And I said, okay, now is my time. This is going to happen. And it allowed me to be really focused and to step into my power, to step into who I always knew I wanted to be as far as my business was concerned. And it allowed me to grow, to flourish, to learn more, and to grow myself as a human being. So I took those opportunities. I saw them and I was embracing them because I didn't have, my life wasn't such that I had a lot of time to do those things before. So I really did embrace it. So, I have to say, for me, it was more positive than negative, but I do miss my people.
Totally.
For me, my positives would have been the accelerated learning. The education that I got in this past year, it surpassed what it is I would have done in my degree or whatever other levels it surpassed it. It showed me that having a degree meant nothing.
Exactly.
No one even knows that I have a degree because even in my bio, when persons ask me for it, I do not put it.
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, it's worthless. What does it matter? People are still going to hire me
Right.
without a degree, right? The knowledge I gained in the last 12 months, spectacular.
Yeah.
It blew my mind. The downfall for me would have been the weight gain, because I've just been eating,
Yeah.
like real eating.
Yes to the weight gain. Yes.
I know, and I don't like how I look, so it makes it even worse. But yet I can't stop eating for whatever. It's like that's my new hobby. What's in hobby or eating? But yeah, that's the only downfall I can really think about.
You
Yeah.
gotta put a sign on your fridge that says, "Sis, you are not hungry." Get out of here.
Right. Absolutely. I can definitely relate to the weight gain for sure. Yeah. Anything you wanted to add, Arlene?
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
All right, because I'm having a little trouble. But as far the best thing that happened is I had to pivot, and I had to pivot and take advantage. And I was so happy to take advantage of the time that I can finally dedicate to my business, because I was, teaching, and I was not in the house a lot prior to. And so it was like a minimal time doing what needed to be done. And I mean, I have this dream, right? Necessarily, the dream to for my business.
Yeah.
So I've been working towards that and made lots of progress. Let's say I'll put lots of progress in the right direction. But I do miss seeing people in person, because there's you build those relationships, and you're used to seeing them day in, and these people day in and day out, and you don't anymore. So I do miss them. But what's nice is that I do see a lot of them virtually, and if I don't see them, and they don't do the virtual option, I do check up on them.
Yeah.
To see how they're doing. As a matter of fact, I just had a conversation with somebody, a person last night, and she was just calling me to just update on me on certain things. And, it was very nice to hear from her. And because I had checked in with her a few days ago to see how she was doing.
Yeah, that's a good thing. I want to thank you ladies so much for joining me today on International Women's Day to discuss the theme of women in leadership and how COVID-19 has affected us all, whether we are in the United States or outside of the United States, whether we are Black or white or Asian or whatever our ethnicity is, we have all been impacted. So going to just tell everyone how they can reach you and how they connect with you. I am Michi Renee with the Unicorn Tribe. You can find me all over social media and on Clubhouse under Unicorn Tribe, UNIKORNTRYBE. I am the Queen Bee, business monetization coach. That is. Arlene, how can people reach you?
You can reach me on social media. I'm on Facebook a lot. I do have a Facebook group, and it's called Healthy and Fit Moms for Life, with the number 4. And my website, www.arlenesantiago.com.
All right,
you can
Lisa.
work. You guys, ladies, you're talking about eating, so we can help that. Let's get that started.
Lisa, how can people reach you?
Hi, Lisa Balthaser. You can look me up on social media. My name is a little bit difficult to spell, but you can also find me mostly in my Facebook group, which is Social Media Business Solutions with an S on the end. And my website is Floridalisasolutions.com. That's FLEURDE LISA Solutions with an S.com.
Thank you. Sapphire, how can people reach you?
So I am pretty much all over social media. So you just can Google Sapphire, and charisma is spelled KHARYZMA. Yes, my dad was very unique with that one. I'm on, yeah, you could just put it in Google and everything that pops up there, because it's a lot, guys. It really is a lot.
Risha, how can people connect with you?
Great. I am on Facebook and Instagram. So once you hit my profile, which is my name, Risha Ferdinand, in the bios, you will get the link tree link that leads to all of my groups and all of my different websites, etc. So just look for my name, Risha Ferdinand, and you will get the links that you need.
Yes. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for tuning in to this International Women's Day episode. If you are on Clubhouse, we will be back on for most of the day talking about different topics throughout the day. You can find me under Unicorn Tribe, UNIKORNTRYBE. Have the most amazing rest of your day. Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.